Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch action genre movie called John Wick 2. Spoilers ahead, turn on your subtitle, I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. In the previous installment, after exacting his vengeance on Joseph and Vigo, John adopted a pit bulldog. His new car is also nice, but he still prefers his old one. The previous holder was none other than Sixco's brother John, who is currently on the run with one of his men. He was riding a flashy motorcycle, so he quickly severed the tail of John's car, thinking he had escaped death. John took a detour. Then the guy rams into John's side. Vigo's brother anticipated that John would arrive soon to claim his car, so he had his minion pack their belongings and prepare to leave. By this time, John had arrived at the warehouse and had easily dispatched his guard. He then quickly returned to his wife's car and drove away. Despite his fear of John, Vigo's brother does not want him to take the car easily and orders his level 1 mobster to fight John. They attempted to pursue John, and he was hit by 2 cars in quick succession. Fortunately, because he is the main character, he is not killed. Following that, a motorcycle driver pursued him. He gently opened the car door, sending him flying in midair. Despite the fact that the car was destroyed, they did not abandon John. To deal with this loser, John must get out of the car. Nothing can keep him from getting his car back. Vigo brother thought he was finished, but John simply poured wine and called a truce. He realized John was only trying to reclaim what was rightfully his, and the two of them have thrown together Because the car was broken, John walked away quietly. John summoned his Mexican friend from the first installment to come and fix it. Death then stabbed his side in the chest one more time, again burying the past and going about his mundane life. But life isn't that simple, because the director stated that the film was too short. Our Joni boy must kill some more. Santino, an old friend of John's, arrives at the house. He wants John to do something, because in the previous mission, John asked for his assistance and gave Santino the blood seal. That blood seal is a kind of underworld contract. When you give someone a blood seal with your blood fingerprint on it, you are obligated to do a favor for that person and cannot refuse. But John, determined to retire, ignored the blood seal. Santino made a fake smile at John, saying that, "Okay man, no hard feelings." However, after leaving, he used a grenade launcher to destroy John's house. John looked at the burning house full of memories and decided to deal with it the old-fashioned way. He brought his pet dog with him to exact his vengeance, so John goes to the hotel to look for Winston. After hearing Winston's story, Winston reminds him that there are 2 unbreakable rules in the underworld. It is forbidden to spill blood in the hotel. This was mentioned in the first part. The second is to respect the blood seal in order to follow the request of the person holding the blood seal. Killing the person holding the blood seal is, of course, prohibited. That is, if Santino requests that John complete a mission, John must comply. Winston even advised him that it would be better to find Santino and ask what his request was rather than fuck him up later, because John knew this was the only way. He sent his dog to the hotel reception and went to see Santino wants him to murder his sister Gianna so he can replace her at the high table. Gianna is currently in Italy, awaiting her new position. The time has come to plan the assassination. The underworld network is far more extensive than anyone realizes. It's a massive industry where all gangsters are prohibited from working together. Winston's hotel is one of them, with locations all over the world. There are also special weapons, equipment, and bulletproof vests that resemble suits. After preparing himself with the necessary items, when John arrives at the location, he sneaks in through the secret door, which has some weapons hidden behind it. Gianna is no ordinary woman. She is extremely powerful and influential in business. She is both gentle and menacing at the same time. Accepting her offer, whether from an opponent or a partner, is a voluntary obligation. Gianna had just returned to her room after finishing with this man. John walked in. They both knew each other, and she understood the significance of John's presence here. When she learned that her brother intended to murder her, she decided to end her life because she was well aware of John's abilities. Because John is a gentleman, he respects her decision. She then stripped naked, cut her arms, and sat in the tub. John didn't expect Gianna to cooperate so easily. In the end, he was taken aback. The mission went well, but he had the impression it wasn't over. When John left the room, he ran into Gianna's bodyguard, Cass. John's intuition told him that something bad was about to happen, so they both pulled out their guns and began shooting at each other. John is able to flee thanks to the bulletproof suit. Cashin instructed the other guard to pursue John. Cashin became enraged after witnessing his mistress's death. John then dashed towards the hidden door. The group chasing him were Santino's subordinates, and Ares is the most capable henchman among all Santino men. This comes as no surprise given that John knew Santino is going to screw him. After a while of fighting, John activated his pencil mode. On his way back to the hotel, he successfully eluded capture. Cashin's car struck him. He desired retribution for Gianna. They switched to fist combat because shooting was no longer satisfying. They fought and collapsed into the hotel lobby. They both know the hotel's territory is off limits as industry professionals. The two were forced to come to a halt and go down to the bar to get a. It was just business, according to John. I have to finish the Blood Seal contract. Cashin realized that the Blood Seal was unavoidable, but it was also his responsibility to protect Gianna. There will only be one survivor the next time they meet. Santino knew his ineffective NPC couldn't murder John, so he called him to explain. Because you murdered my sister, I sent someone to kill you. So it's only natural that I sent someone to avenge her. You can't hold it against me. Damn, what a load of nonsense. Santino, brother, like Vigos, starts shitting his pants because he knows how John works. Nothing but action. Without any prior notice, he decided to give out a $7 million contract for John's head. And this is how they manage the bounty. This appears to be a normal bank, but it is the location where contracts are distributed throughout the underworld. People hear issues, orders, and notify the industry assassins in charge of managing the entire process to avoid errors. They are only responsible for informing the assassins. Winston is in charge of the Blood Seal contract system, ensuring that Santino's tasks are completed and managing the contract assassins all over the world. No one, however, appears to be worthy of John's opponent. Cashin accepted the contract as well, believing that if he killed John, he would not only avenge his boss but also gain some money. He must give his all this time if he is to defeat John. Then he tracked down John and chased him down to the subway. Anyway, there were a lot of people on the train, and the two just stared passionately at each other. When everyone got off the train, they started fighting. Cashin clearly overestimated his abilities. Cashin got lucky the last time they fought because John was out of gas, but now John had Cashin dead with a dagger to the chest. Not to mention Cashin would have died if John had pulled the knife, but he didn't because he is a nice guy. However, John has been seriously injured as a result of this battle. When several more assassins appeared, he began fleeing once more. John dashed over to a beggar and handed him a gold coin. The beggar hid John under a blanket and assisted him in dealing with the assassins. He introduced John to the Bowery boss. This guy reminds me of the Beggar King. Thanks to John, they also have a backstory. He has a scar on his neck. He has been in his current position since then. His gang is made up of beggars from all over town, so there are eyes and ears everywhere. He also receives the $7 million contract for John's head. Bowery is then warned about Santino by John. If he is successful in replacing his sister, the Bowery gang will be over soon. Do you think the $7 million is worth it? So why not give me a gun and let me finish off Santino? Isn't there anything wrong with doing things for the gang? Besides, if John murders Santino, he will be the one hunted down. There will be no association with Bowie's gang. Bowery decided to give John a bunch of guns while also revealing Santino's location. John didn't think twice about going straight there. When he saw John's cold expression, Santino hurriedly greeted everyone before allowing his bodyguard to accompany him to the exit. John has regained his strength. It's time to blow stuff up. John gunned Santino's boys are being taken out one by one. He dispatched the bodyguards quickly and pursued Santino, visiting a mirror gallery. Santino used his familiarity with the terrain to his advantage, deliberately attracting the attention of bodyguards in order to sneak attack John. But, with complete focus, John easily disrupted Santino's plans, even luring him out. Ares, Santino's close servant, arrived just in time. Ares is a high-level NPC, so she is more difficult to defeat. Ares is so tough that in the end, it is John who is plot armor. Ares realized she was screwed, so she let her soldiers buy some time before transporting Santino to Sty. John is hot on his tail. Ares is compelled to let Santino go first so she can deal with John. She begins to lose steam after a few punches. John stabbed Ares in the chest with a knife. Then Ares motioned to John. "See you later." John responded to her as well. Of course, Santino now has only one option for hiding, the hotel. He requests that Winston cancel John's. Of course, this isn't Twitter, so Winston didn't give a hoot about Santino saying you're dead. Santino stayed at the hotel after the threat failed because the law prohibited bloodshed. When John arrived at the hotel, Santino sat down to eat steak while looking very cocky, believing that John lacked the guts to break the rule. He instructed John to fuck himself and beat it. As an introverted badass, John didn't say anything and delivered a bullet right through his chest. Winston was taken aback. "What exactly have you done, John?" John responds coldly, finishing the job. Although Santino was a jerk, John openly violated the hotel's rules. John went back to the reception desk, got his dog, and went home. His emotions were mixed as he looked at the ruined house. He just wanted to live a peaceful life, but he was dragged into an endless killing spree time and again. It's the depth of the ocean. There is no way out once you step inside. Winston invited John to say goodbye in the square because John had broken the law. Winston was forced to follow the rules of the underworld, expelling John from the faction, but due to their old friendship, Winston still allowed him to flee. Winston will excommunicate John after an hour. Chad doesn't care because John is a Giga. He wishes to convey a message to the assassin. John has, as he did in part 1 following the contract to hunt. We see John fleeing and officially becoming the world's target. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.